John T. Capps says he became a Rotarian when a Rotary Youth Leadership Award delegate asked, "Will you teach me how to tie a tie?" And again several years later, after 10 trips to South India for polio immunization and polio hospital visits, with arms and legs about the size of one's index and forefinger, would greet us with penetrating eyes, arms outstretched to be retouched, smiling and saying, "I knew you would come back, Uncle John. Thank you for returning to our polio hospital." We take ourselves too seriously, says John T. Participating and sharing the humanitarian programs and projects of our clubs provide us some humor in order not to weep. I am not a great Rotarian. I just toil daily in the cornfields of life to bring thoughtfulness, a few laughs, and sometimes tears of joy by serving others. John T. was proposed for Rotary by his father in 1968. In 1981, he became charter president of the Rotary Club of Morehead City, Noon, and during the 1985-86 served as District 7730 governor in eastern North Carolina, following in his father's and uncle's footsteps. He has participated in 35 Rotary International conventions, featured on the cover of the Rotarian magazine in May of 2011, served as Chief Sergeant at Arms for the 2005 Centennial and the 2011 New Orleans conventions. He has attended 5 sessions of the Council on Legislation. During 2013-15, he served as membership chairman for Win One, Keep One campaign. He is married to Jane, an honorary Rotary member, past chair of the Salvation Army Advisory Board, recipient of the William P. Booth Award. They are major donors and benefactors of the Rotary Foundation. He is the author of How to Survive Your Year as a Leader. He is the founder of Bald Headed Men of America, and he grows up. And when he grows up, John T. says, "I want to make headway in life, and you can too." Welcome, John. Thank you.
Amen. Thank you, Dr. O. What a great, thrilling opportunity to be with one of the first, second, or third Zoom meetings we've been honored to participate in, and certainly your recognition over. Is that good now?
Yes.
Okay, and so along about 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning, Jane said, "You know, we need to call our aides if you don't feel good." And what did they do? They turned around and called 911, and we wound up spending open heart surgery in Greenwood, South Carolina, and spent a couple of weeks there unannounced. So that had a longer stay in the community, but so many great Rotarians that were wonderful to reach out to us and provide an opportunity for us. And so when we got home, we got a bill from the hospital, over $100,000. So I had gotten a letter from the club president, Anthony, and he said, "We will cover your expenses." So I took that letter from the hospital and mailed it to the local club president of Greenwood, South Carolina. And I don't know what kind of fundraiser they had, but you can rest assured they had a good one. Because I'm still up and about and continue to pay them a little bit of money all along. So with that being said, hey, we all have opportunities in Rotary. Opportunities of opening doors. Opportunities to glance at this month's Rotarian magazine. The opportunity to see the different challenges that each person has made and each club has made over the years, and the opportunity to address this wonderful eClub of Florida because 10 years ago, I don't believe you were there. And so the transition of what Rotary was in the past that I remember when I joined, and my dad and my grandfather, as to what it is today is entirely different. But that's the way it should be. Our lives are entirely different. Our involvement in our communities are entirely different. But the opportunities of being able to work with others, the opportunities to, as was shared in Dr. O's wonderful remarks, is how did you become a Rotarian? And it was when Truly was there for a youth exchange kid who was there for Rotary Youth Leadership Awards, and I went in the restroom, and he was in the restroom, and he was trying to tie a tie, and he said, you know, Mr. John, I don't know how to tie this tie. And I said, well, let me see if I can try to help you. And he said, and by the way, how does my shirt look? I said, it really looks good. And how does my coat look? I said, your coat really looks good too. He said, well, my grandmother went to the thrift store yesterday and bought me the shirt and a coat because this is the first dress coat I've ever had. And so she brought this tie, but I don't have a daddy that I know of. My granddaddy has passed away, and my grandmother didn't know how to tie a tie. So the opportunity of providing service and taking a tie and flipping it over and flipping it under and tightening it up. After I did it a couple times, he said, I believe I can do that. So I took it off and gave it to him, and he messed up 2 or 3 times, but then he said, you know, I got it, and he tightened it up, patted it in there, and lo and behold, it was perfect. It was perfect. For several years, the Rotary Club in Whiteville and myself and others have continued to be supportive of this RILA delegate sponsored by Rotary District 7730, and talking about opportunities. Never would we have realized that an opportunity of chance meeting in the restroom before his Saturday night dinner, and then to know how he learned how to tie a tie, and then to know today he is a surgeon in the state of North Carolina.
Wonderful.
That's how we take opportunities, and opportunities of service, as our president has suggested, and an opportunities that each of us can continue to be a part of. A couple other things is, now that we're into Zooming, I used to be able to say we're a Rotary Club that meets on time, we eat on time, we end on time, and we have a darn good time. But as we do Zoom meetings, we meet on time because you have to be here, and most of you are probably nibbling on something, so you eat whenever you want to. We end on time because we have a certain limit, but we have a good time in our everyday life so that others can recognize we as Rotarians enjoy life and enjoy giving back to service. I also like to say that in a couple of Rotary clubs when I spoke at Pets in Florida, I had one that they wanted us to have a mission statement for every Rotary club. That was several years ago, and they had sessions on how to do a mission statement as we could be at president-elect sessions. Well, the one that I really enjoyed in a mission statement is, we're old, we're bold, and we for the goal. And he said, our club is so old that the club president only gives out a month of calendars a year because none of us would feel like we're going to last an entire year. So as we move forward to get the service reasons behind us and realize the importance of being a Rotarian, I tend to think there are two major reasons to join Rotary. One is the networking that Zooming and this type of Rotary has provided an opportunity for all of us to be exposed to Rotary in a greater worldwide recognition than just our little old Rotary club. And then relationships that we go along in our everyday life, but our relationships that we begin to meet on the internet and through our eClubs and other things, then that makes it different. Then the fellowship that all of us enjoy, the fellowship of taking these few minutes today makes a difference. The fellowship of sharing and caring with one another and using the opportunity of opening the doors to others. So, and finally, there's three kinds of members. It's a group of you, of us that make it happen. There's some that say, let's see what happens. And even in this transition, there's some don't know what happened. But for most of us, we see the value of being a Rotarian. I salute you as an eClub, and I salute you wherever you are in the world to make a difference in providing an opportunity of changing your life, but more importantly, changing the life of someone else who you don't even know. Thank you so much, Dr. O.
Thank you, sir. Do you have time to take some questions, sir?
Sure, yes, ma'am.
Okay. The one question, out of all the things you've done in all these 200 years you've been a member, what would you say was your most poignant time in Rotary?
I think on January the 19th, when we immunized in India an extraordinarily amount, the greatest number of children that we had ever immunized in one day that Rotary had ever done and has ever been done since. Because many of us were on the trains, giving drops to little babies and parents. I'll never forget going through the last train after almost 8 hours or 10 hours of standing at the train station and going through, a little lady saying, I got it. The lady, when she got there, she said, we came for a long ways away to be here. And I want my son, when you give drops to my son, I want him to know that he's going to have a long life, because I lost my husband, and I lost my grandfather, and I've lost my great-grandfather because of polio. And to know that she came to the Rotary, and those of us who had gone as volunteers could make a difference in her life.
Amen. Amen. DGE Barry has his mic on. Ready?
Yeah. Hey, John, how are you? It's good to see you.
Hey, I was on there earlier. Sorry we hadn't made it now, but hey, I'm proud of you.
Well, thank you. We missed you at Ryla last year, and obviously you recuperated from your health issues then, but then came up with another $100,000 worth in the meantime. But the question I was going to ask you, I know so much about your Rotarian career. I know nothing about your professional career. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Well, thank you. Well, it took my career to provide my Rotary career. And our family was involved in the drugstore business,
Okay.
and book and gift and card business, and the printing business.
And so you decided to print money, is that right?
We were also involved in a peanut farm in near Williamsburg, Virginia. And Jane and I continued to maintain the peanut farm until about 2 years ago, Jane. That's right. And then about 6 years ago, we retired from the printing industry, and we were proud to say in our community that we had been the local printers in that community since 1893.
Wow.
When
Oh my gosh.
first started in a retail business, and now my nephew, whose business we just left a while ago, he's still in the retail business near Kinston, North Carolina, and he continues to share that the family has done business in eastern North Carolina, serving others, providing service above self, being involved in the community, making a reasonable amount of profit, becoming really great average Americans, and we continue to be blessed with being able to support not only Rotary, but our new Salvation Army building that my wife Jane was an instrumental part of in raising, what was it, $3,000, $3 million, $3.5 million, and we were a small part of that, giving back what our community had given to us.
Amen.
Well, thank you for that. It's good to know that background, but you've had a stellar Rotary career, and we all appreciate that. Thank you, John.
Thank you. How about Mike? I heard he spoke last week on fellowship.
It was great. I did. Friendship's our district theme this year, John T. And you and I have talked about that sort of stuff before. I've had a couple of questions as I visited around, and they're about RILA and a virtual RILA. Maybe not necessarily now, but would you give some thought to what a virtual RILA would look like, and what are the components and what we need to do? Because, you know, the question is, how do you replicate the experience that our students have when they give their talks? That's going to be hard to do virtually, but would you just give that some thought, and I'll give you a call in a couple of weeks and see what you think.
Yeah, Mike, that's a great question. I've thought about it with several that I go to in your district, and I have 4 or 5 rallies I go to in California, and so there we're also trying to figure out how that can be, or if they're going to go to. Well, none of us know what the governors are going to do for our state. Everything is different. But, yeah, let's chat about it. We need to look at that possibility.
Yeah, just give some thought, and let's start structuring it now, because I think if we get a good structure in place now and get ready, if we can do it live, then super. If not, I'd like to have a plan in place and have the various piece parts of what we can do virtually and how we want to do that and all that. So just, you know, cogitate on that as you go along, and I'll give you a holler.
All right, that'll be good. We can do that.
Thanks, sir.
Thank you.
More questions? Mary Ann, do you have any questions? Open your mic, Mary Ann.
Yes, Phyllis.
Gloria, you have a question?
No, I don't. No questions. Thank you for coming. Thank you.
Thank you, Mary.
Melissa, do you have a question? Mary Ann's up now. Would you like to say something?
No, I don't have a question, but thank you for coming.
I don't have a question, but I just want to thank John for spending the time with us today.
Hey, it's my pleasure. You're absolutely fantastic.
Always enjoy you.
Thanks.
And you can all open up your mics. Anthony, do you have a question? Open up your mics if you want to talk or clap.
John, I don't know whether you remember, we worked a couple of years with the Ryla camp at Umatilla, and I have had the pleasure of working with you. I don't know whether you meet thousands of people each year, but it definitely good memories, and you are a great speaker, and thank you for allowing your time to be with us today. Really appreciate it.
Well, that's quite an honor coming from you. Thank you so very, very much.
Welcome.
We want to thank John T. and the fact that he has offered to come back in a few months with more practice and experience and speak again to us.
Yeah, so I have a couple of questions for y'all in closing.
Sure.
Okay.
Okay. Where would you be without your involvement in the Fellowship of Rotary? Where would you be without this Zoom meeting in Rotary and knowing the fellowship between one another in different parts of the world? And where would you be without Rotary?
Hard question.
Thank each of you very much and wish you well. And I hope to get back to my home phone, to my home computer. And by golly, we will look at everybody and touch base with you.
Blessings with your appointment and your trip.
Right.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.